Hi, everybody, and welcome to this discussion about Tai Chi and all its amazing health benefits. We've got a few people online here, and one of the things is when you want to participate, we will welcome it. You can use the chat button on the bottom of the screen. And down the road, maybe we'll have some live back and forth as well. Just to get you started, the idea of Tai Chi and health is obviously, goes back 1,000 years or more, actually. It's based on the concepts of ancient Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine. It goes back, about 5,000 years or so. However, with Tai Chi itself, there's been a lot of Western research as well on the not only the health benefits, but the medical and health benefits of it. As a matter of fact, what I just perused our website a while back on some of the articles we have where it mentions research relating to the health benefits. And I'm going to read the list very quickly, trying not to bore you, but just to give you an idea how amazing this art is in terms of our practice and how it enhances our lives. I'll start off with balance, fall prevention, improved walking, stress reduction, improved mood, building strength in the lower body, helping people with asthma in terms of breathing techniques, aerobic capacity, people with COPD, fibromyalgia, arthritis, joint health improvement, improves the internal organs, in helping people sleep better, improves cognition, awareness, helps reduce some issues with Parkinson's, also with MS. It's good for people with heart conditions. It helps reduce bone loss in menopausal women, improves your energy, possibly affecting even on a positive note, the immune system, helping people who have PTSD and as an anti-aging exercise. It just goes on. And all of this is backed up by medical research. Stephan will be covering some of those concepts with you shortly. But I just wanted to give you an overview of how amazing this art is. It goes not only just for your own personal well-being, but for so many other people. It's such a gift, is the way I look at it. And Stephan, you wanted to talk about the Harvard Medical School and some of your experiences.
Yeah, I mean, there is so much to talk about here, and much of what there is to talk about has been coming out quickly in recent years. But yeah, Alan, starting from Harvard and Harvard Medical School, we're talking about 4 years ago, in 2020. Harvard did a number of different studies, and they did some really good quality meta-analysis, meaning they studied other studies. And what they found was, and they were pretty conclusive about this, what they found is that Tai Chi is if not the best exercise you should do as we for adults, but they ranked it as one of the top two things you can do as we age as for adults. That is incredible. And in their top 10 list, yoga did not appear. Okay. And this is a really important point, and for those of us who are professional Tai Chi teachers, this is a powerful message, but it's a message that doesn't really get out that well. Even Harvard has had it's been really challenging for them to get the message out. They've actually put a decent amount of resources into this, into studying Tai Chi and trying to promote and advance Tai Chi as the physical practice that adults need. And it's been really hard for them. And because of that are the challenges in learning Tai Chi. Even though a person 20 as well as a person 90 can do it, you are learning a whole new way to move. But that way to move is really the secret to why Tai Chi is so good. And then so that's 2020, and stuff has, all kinds of data has come out before then. Harvard did that, put a huge stake in the ground, and then we've seen all these other studies coming out recently. And the main the main conclusion, a point out of that I think is important to convey, is that Tai Chi practice, and in particular what we try to promote in Chi Force, and that's Chen style Tai Chi, which is the original, mature, more complete mother form of Tai Chi, it actually it provides the same benefits as some of the most highly recommended training regimens that you'll see floating around today. Mm-hmm. For instance, HIIT training, high intensity interval training, really popular, often seen as the best way to lose weight, the best way to regulate all kinds of stuff, good for heart health. HIIT training, where basically you have a workout where you combine very high intensity action and then go into more slower, softer action, then go up into high intensity action, basically like a kind of a focus workout to hit on everything. Can be effective, but it's not effective for everybody because a lot of people can't do HIIT training. Right. It's actually pretty rigorous. Tai Chi, though, especially Chen Tai Chi, what's so interesting and so wonderful about Chen Tai Chi is that we train our body in fast and slow and hard and soft movements. And you do that within a span of time. So if you work on one prearranged routine, which we normally call forms, let's say you do a form that takes about 10 or 11 minutes to do. During that time, you're doing slow, steady, strong, leg-oriented movements, punctuated by faster movements where you actually have to explode. Or you can explode, put it that way, you don't have to explode. And when you practice that way, you actually get the same benefits of HIIT training. It's incredible. So these are some of the things that we recognize exist in Tai Chi for its health benefit, but is not recognized widely. And so what we see out there, and I say this to my students all the time, is that, and I point this out to them all the time, is that doctors are increasingly sending people to do Tai Chi. They're increasingly sending them to do it because they look at the data. So as of I'd say, as of this year, we're seeing all kinds of interesting data coming out. For instance, here's another data point, and that is still stance training, okay, is now being recognized as more effective for blood pressure control than aerobic activity, which honestly is huge.
Wow.
To the point where they have done very high quality studies, and all of you can look it up right now, where something that speed skaters do, where they put their back against the wall, they bend their legs, they keep their feet kind of close together, they bend their legs so their legs form an L with their back against the wall, basically supported sits is one way they call them. They've done some good quality studies with that, where basically you're taking pressure off of certain joints and you're loading your thighs a certain way, and you have to stand still. So it has a lot of benefits to it. Some people describe it as kind of an isometric training. Others describe it in other ways. And what they're finding is that if people do that for about, give it about maybe 10 minutes every other day, that their blood pressure, both systolic and diastolic, can drop almost 8 to 12 points after just a few weeks. It's freaking incredible, you guys. So I mention that because this is, not only is that almost exactly what we do in Tai Chi, but we do it in a safer way. Because in Tai Chi, not only are you sitting back, letting your thighs occupy, really taking control of how you stand, and we stand in very specific ways in Tai Chi, it takes pressure off of the knees, it takes pressure off of the hips, it relaxes the back. And what happens is you're doing this through a variety of different postures and moving in and out of different postures, all adhering to this physical requirement that the current Western science is showing to be true. So whatever it is about engaging the legs while taking pressure off of the joints, sitting back, as we often say in Tai Chi, exactly what this supported wall squat does, clearly helps explain why Tai Chi has miraculous health benefits. So So this is part of the message that we want to get out to you guys and try and put some context around the studies. And what I was beginning to say before is that as far as doctors increasingly recommending Tai Chi to people, they're doing so, and we're happy to see that. But most of the medical establishment, they actually don't understand why this works. They look at the data and they see it, and they clearly, if they just look at the data, they're like, okay, you need to be doing Tai Chi. So they'll send people to do Tai Chi, but they don't understand that Tai Chi is a different way to move, which has a different kind of a stimulatory effect in the body. They don't understand that it can be challenging, especially for much older people, to learn something like this. So what we see is that folks, they're being told to do this, but they're not being told exactly like what it entails, or what to look for, or the kind of commitment that it takes. And this doesn't mean you have to do Tai Chi for 50 years, but it does mean that it's not something that you just do for a week or two, feel better. And then it's not like just getting a little massage. It is something that you want to build into your life and into your routine. And sometimes I describe it as a, you have to, if you're given antibiotics, all right, you're told you've got to take these for 10 days. And if you don't take it for 1 or 2 days, you're screwing yourself up. Your body develops kind of a resistance, or it doesn't get the full effectiveness. With Tai Chi, it's really a similar effect. In old school Tai Chi training, sometimes we'll say that if you're trying to perfect some kind of a standing posture, so as to get these benefits that science has now been proven to be true. And let's say, okay, I know I'm supposed to maybe do this for about 10 minutes, but you know what? I've got an itch in my back, and I'm going to come out of it and scratch my back. The traditional teaching says you have to start over because you're breaking that chain. And it's surprisingly similar to if you break your medication chain. So Tai Chi, this is what we are trying to get this is the big point that we're trying to get across to people, that you could make it simple and just say consistent training or consistent practice is the secret. That's of course crucial, but it's how you practice and how you do it that's especially important. And if you have any confusion about how you should do it, whether you have a good instructor or not, you nowadays can look at the medical evidence and actually see that if you sit back and you're standing in certain positions and you sit back, it'll actually change something deep inside of you. So whether it's hormonal, your lipids, whatever, however your metabolic syndrome, you can put it in many different boxes. And if you keep that in mind, you'll understand that Tai Chi is the number one, the prime discipline that teaches you how to handle your posture, your body, and your structural integrity so that you really, really heal and become healthy.
Well, that's wonderful. You kind of stimulated some thoughts there in my mind. For many years, some people working with physically disabled people would use what's called patterning exercises, repeating the same thing over and over again. And the theory there is that you're stimulating the peripheral nervous system to heal as it goes along. These are people that have had disorders of neuropathy, as an example, issues with control, like MS, things of this nature. But it's the patterning that stimulates the neurons. And in Tai Chi, as you practice, the more you practice, the more your patterning type of exercise that you're doing comes into play, where you're stimulating the neurons and the whole nervous system, peripheral nervous system. At the same time, you're also having a benefit on the central nervous system. So you have two of these working together, which gives you the ability to move in control affect things, as one of the main areas you might have heard about is Tai Chi working on preventing falling. And I did mention this at the last session, but I'll repeat it again. There are statistics that show that outside of automobile accidents, the single largest cause of catastrophic injury and or death is falling. among people 55 and older. I don't know if you're aware of that. And so you have a combination of benefits. A, your balance. You're improving the potential of affecting the minimizing falling or not falling at all. And there's also research that shows it improves bone density. So if you do fall, your likelihood of getting injured, such as a fracture or something of this nature, is reduced. I mean, it goes on and on and on. But that's what you stimulated in me there, Stephan. So. Any other questions at this point? All right. So I think what we should is possibly, Stephan, if you want to lead this, is delve in, your theories about exercise through Tai Chi, and specifics, benefits that you've studied.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even, my own theory per se, but you know, this is a really great opportunity to address why do we move so slow in Tai Chi, or apparently so slow? Why is it that we have to use the legs a certain way? Because all the movements should be generated from the lower body up. So in Tai Chi, you're not leading with your hands, which many people think you do. When you do that, you're just doing nothing basically. But when you lead with the lower body, it's highly substantive. It wakes up so many things in the body. And something that one of Chief Force's leaders, John Miller, talked about in our last week's talk, when we talked about just what are the core elements of Tai Chi, and some of that conversation led to health. And I just want to talk about the whole parasympathetic nervous system business. And I don't know if you guys are aware of that. It's something that's been well known and talked about, but essentially, the parasympathetic system, it's a way to kind of describe one side of our nervous system, and essentially it is those things that will help us relax even during movement or even during stress. And how do you train that? Clearly, that's healthy for you to tap into that and to get the benefits from improving your parasympathetic system, if you will. But how do you do that? Tai Chi is probably the best way to do it. Because of the slower movement, it's highly deliberate, it requires very high precision, and you have no choice but to relax, be able to get past a certain stage with it. Exercising like this, which can still be intense, is not based on more of that, what did John say, the fight or flight type of exercise, which is what we're normally taught. We're normally taught, push it hard, get your workouts in, change up your workouts all the time, constantly stimulate your body, all these things that we talk about in fitness, which a lot of that is important. But what's probably more important, especially as we age, is training and trying to tap into or stimulating the parasympathetic system. And you do that through this kind of very precise, focused, relaxed movement driven from the lower body. And it has an extraordinary effect on your nervous system, which of course then has an extraordinary effect on your health. So yeah.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to, you again, gave me a thought here, and that is, just think about your friends who get involved with sports and really intense training. Just stop and think about how many of these at one time or another have had an injury, a sprain, a strain, even a fracture of some sort, a torn ligament, whatever. It's very, very common. As a matter of fact, Stephan, you mentioned yoga was not mentioned. One of our advocates, Dr. Dan Richmond, who's a pain management specialist at HSS, has told me in one of our discussions that he gets a lot of patients who have practiced yoga, because a lot of it is actually poor instruction, I would think. But people don't know when you're doing things quickly, or you're trying to get that power in. and you're not doing it correctly, you don't know what you're doing, you can create stress in a joint or or a limb or something of this nature or a ligament because you're out of balance. And what Tai Chi does is it balances you, number one. Number two, it forces you to become involved in listening to your body. You've heard us mention this at the last session. Learning to listen to your body is extremely important. Not only learning to listen to your body, but to learn as you go along how to make the adjustments so that you are balanced. One of the problems with people doing things quickly, and when you're starting out with Tai Chi, it even happens there. People, beginners tend to want to brush through things very quickly because they're compensating. They don't realize it. They're trying to get off one leg to another leg, and this creates an issue. So when we say slow down, stop, feel, move slowly, adjust, etc., there's a reason for it. It gets you to realize you yourself how to align it, not the teacher. And that's the other thing about Tai Chi that's so great from this is you start out mimicking the teacher, you're observing, so it's external. But the more you do it and the more you practice and the more you internalize it and begin to understand it, it becomes internal, it becomes part of you. And that's where the benefits start to really flow, where you learn how to get the chi to move. You learn how to feel when the chi is moving. You learn how to feel when you're aligned properly, when you're doing a move properly. And what we've done at Chi Force as an example is we've created the fundamentals course because a lot of times just getting straight into basic form study, as Stephan had mentioned, can be a little overwhelming to beginners, especially if you had no experience. And when you work on the fundamentals, you learn about centering, you learn about balance, you learn how to feel as you move. You learn you're beginning to learn the understanding of, as Stephan referred to, the utilizing what I call your root from your hips on down, building the strength and the flexibility there, learning to take pressure off your knee. A lot of people come to me with knee injuries or knee issues. And it's just a matter of not understanding the right posture, the right alignment of the movement when they're not even in Tai Chi, but when they're moving, they're not understanding the alignment. When they come to Tai Chi, they do get that understanding through the practice. And another thing that Stephan shared an article a while back about how practice actually improves the brain function. And this can be generic practice. This could be pianos or anything where you're repeating something over and over again, but it does affect the neurons in your central nervous system in your brain. So part of it, practice is a very important part of all this. You'll hear me say to my students at the end of every lesson, practice, practice, practice. It's the repetition, the learning to do it the right way. And that's the important thing, doing it the right way, which is why we do it slowly. So we don't compensate and we learn how to do this. And we're doing it slowly and we keep our mind engaged. It affects the way our acuity of the our surroundings, becoming aware of our surroundings, etc. It just has this effect. So practice gives you that ability to take time for yourself. You're not in a class, you're not in a group, you're working with yourself. And so it's really a simple thing of going through the basics. One of the things we have in our society is we want to complete the task. We want to get it done. So I'll go do my workout and I'll do my 10 push-ups or 50 push-ups or whatever it is, and I get it done. With Tai Chi, it's the journey. It's not the end game, it's the journey. So the idea is to take sections. Let's say you're learning silk reeling. Well, don't just go through the routine and do every single one. Do one. Feel what it's like. Work on one side, work on the other side, see, am I aligned right? Am I moving right? Am I utilizing my waist correctly? Am I turning properly? Is my head relaxed? Are my shoulders relaxed? And the beauty of the slowness gives you that ability. And while you're doing that, another benefit that has been shown in research is it reduces stress and gives you a basic feeling of wellness. Uh, it's as a matter of fact, I just had that experience this morning. I had to do some tasks and I was really tired. I had been up a little late. I didn't have a good sleep. I got up and I didn't want to do anything, but I figured, maybe I'll do something. So I did a long form. And it's one of these things. It's an amazing experience if you know practitioners have experienced this. It might not be something you experience right away, but all of a sudden, in the middle of my day, I said, "Oh my God, I feel great! I'm so glad I did that." It's not like the runner's high where it's temporary. It builds up through the body, through the neurons, through your breath, through your blood. It's just a total body exercise, and the effects are long lasting, which is an amazing part of it. So it's also stress reduction, and just a feeling of well being that accompanies it as well. Once we get the ability to understand and listen to our body and allow that chi to flow and build that strength. It's, the root, as Stephan alluded to, as I call it, the root, the lower body strength is so important and it's so overlooked. When people start out, a lot of times it's Tai Chi, you'll see they're using their shoulders or their head to lead them rather than allowing the legs to do the work. They're trying to compensate. One of the things I joke with some students a lot of times is there's no such thing as a sky hook. It's a matter of learning and adjusting and trusting yourself. And as you do this, the neurons become more stimulated. The mind becomes more alert. The mind connecting to the body, connecting to the awareness of yourself in time and space in the physical surroundings, becoming aware as we admonish to our practitioners when we're doing standing mountains, listen behind you. I asked Ren, is it always during, Master Ren is one of the inspirations of this, of Chi Force. And I had asked him, is it always, when you're doing standing mountain, you're always doing listen behind you? And his saying was, he told me, he said, you're always listening behind you. No matter what you do, you should always be aware of your environment. Once we tend to not become aware, that's when little simple things happen, like you can trip on a sidewalk, or you can bang into something, or knock something off a table, or whatever. It's the other advantage of this wonderful exercise is it keeps you aware, it keeps you involved, and you're alive.
Yeah, and to that, Alan, it's there's kind of an extra sensory perception, or what I like to describe it as kind of like a geospatial awareness or spatial awareness that this gives you. So how does it do that? So
Well,
we can talk about this in a few different ways, but something that we only touched upon briefly in our last discussion, but it'd be great to talk about a little bit more in detail here, is the importance of still posture training. Being able to making sure that you have such good structural integrity when still, that actually stimulates so many things, and it actually improves yourself cognitively as well, because it actually opens things up. You actually get your senses really get amplified when you just in one place and you're constantly trying to stay in the right position. So that's a whole other discussion. What is the right or wrong position? But I will say this, and this is in terms of traditional Chinese medicine. So we talked a lot about what the Western medical science is showing about Tai Chi, and we're going to see more of that. But what is it about traditional Chinese medicine that many of you here in the call have had experience with? So you go to an acupuncturist, and what do? They'll say, okay, you have a problem here, so we're going to needle you here. Okay, so essentially, they will identify a malady that you're coming in to be treated for with an energy blockage somewhere in your body. So what they do is they unblock that area with a needle or their thumb. Maybe they'll burn some herbs on it to basically release that blockage so your internal energy flows without breaks. That's number one for Chinese medicine. Number two, and it's the overall thing, is in traditional Chinese medicine, you're talking about always balancing your yin and yang energy. So your qi, your internal energy, or in Japanese, ki, Hindi, prana, even in ancient Gaelic, there are words for this. How do you balance that? How do you get that balance of one energy that's more related to heat and firmness and you could even say youthfulness, versus the other energy that has to do with that's more subtle, ethereal, lighter, cool, relaxed? You have to have both. It's not one or the other. So a good TCM, a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, will look at you critically this way and say, your yin yang is off balance. In Tai Chi, we actually get folks to that point. The practice of it puts you into that yin yang balance from the inside out. Mm-hmm. And it does that through very strict structural work, making sure that your pelvis is level, making sure, like what I said before, you're sitting back, taking pressure off of the knees and the hips. And before I can continue on with that, so if we put a lot of emphasis in keeping the pelvis level so as to enhance your flow of internal energy, guess what? One of the top, if not the top cause of falling in older adults is that their pelvis is uneven, is not level. And there's tons of physical therapies out there that try to get folks who are experiencing falling to kind of make sure their pelvis is level with really mixed results. But in Tai Chi, you can get those results with proper Tai Chi within basically a month or so. It's incredible. So as we're talking about this, releasing the energy, stimulating the senses, relaxing, and then the mind improves. You're able to kind of understand and see things better, maybe memorize certain things better. You're more alert mentally. What's happening is that your lower abdomen, the pubic region, which we call the dantian, is very important. And a lot of people misunderstand this whole dantian thing. Even people who profess to be doing Tai Chi for many years, even if you were to go live in China for 20 years and study with a bunch of teachers there, most are not going to fully understand what this is. What this really is, especially as we know it to be in Chen Tai Chi, the dantian is not so much your storage house for your internal energy. It's the main intersection of your energy, where your yang energy transforms to yin energy when it goes front to back, back to front. Again, that's another very big conversation. But if that part of the body is so important, how do we handle that part of the body? We handle it by making sure that everything around that part of the body is intact, so that it protects and supports the dantian, so that the dantian can, in a sense, be level and float and can kind of react more soft, more naturally and more instantaneously. So then what happens is that Tai Chi dramatically increases your reaction time to things, which then has a big impact on how you fall or even preventing you from falling. And these are things, by the way, that medical science hasn't quite Western medical science hasn't quite caught up to yet in the studies. But these are the other extraordinary health benefits here. And these benefits I just described are from the perspective of traditional Chinese medicine, let alone the Western medicine that highlights still posture is very important, back against the wall, leg oriented stuff, very important. I'll leave you with this one other thing. I remembered a few years back, you guys remember that show, the Biggest Loser? That's where they get folks who are, like obese or super overweight, 300, 400, 500 pound folks. And what they found was that the people who were able, and you could look this up, the New York Times had a big article about this. The biggest loser people who had managed to keep the weight off over the long term, they did it through still stance training. What they did was more isometric work, which is another thing. That type of training, that still training where you're just kind of holding your own body weight, or maybe even pushing an immobile object, in our case it would normally be the floor, pushing against that. Isometrics is now being recognized as absolutely important for blood pressure control. Mm-hmm. It was never thought to be that before, but now it is. And this is not our saying it in Chi Force. This is all the medical science showing this now. So if any of you have had to deal with any kind of cardiovascular issues, often what they'll tell you, if you're at a certain point, they'll say you need to be doing strength training, and if you're capable, you should do some isometric work to actually help you with your blood pressure control. It's incredible. It's incredible. So now all of this then means what? It does mean that it gives you an amazing youthfulness. Tai Chi can heal you and make you so youthful. I mean, a lot of us here on the call can have a lot of things to say. I mean, Alan can definitely talk about this. Alan is super youthful. And what is that? And we also have on the call Henry Hsiang, who is a senior instructor in the True Tai Chi group in DC. And he has been really talking about how he is essentially interacting with just people in his life on the issue of age, youthfulness, and why is it that he's a certain way and many of his peers are not. So Henry, man, go for it. Just share whatever you want to say, because you really explained this so wonderfully.
Thank you, Stephan, for this opportunity to share. Those of you that know me, I tend to repeat myself because I'm getting old. I'm going to be 60 years old this year, this next month, in fact. I was born 1964, the last year of the baby boomers. And I have an 8-year-old daughter, which I have to chase around. Of course, all the other dads are between 15 to 20 years younger than me. I play tennis with people that I could outrun. That's about 15 years younger. And I attribute it, of course, to my mother's genes and to Chen Tai Chi. Now, recently, we hung out with a family. Their thing was hiking. So we decided to go to the Shenandoah Mountain. And since I hate planning, I said, whatever you guys decide, let me know, I'll be there. So I brought my family, and for 3 days, we went up and down the mountain. Now, mountain climbing is not my thing. That's their thing. But they had knee pains. I do Ilu. In the morning still, I did my little Sinja Ilu. I felt great. I didn't have any knee pains. And the most interesting thing I'd like to relay is that the way we step, what we talked about today, how you have a sensory perception of where your feet is, whether you call it root, you call it balance, you have it set up so that you move in a steady manner in Chen Tai Chi. Now, when you're doing on level ground, it's all well and good. People could do it fast, slow, but climbing up and down the mountain, it becomes relevant because the possibility of falling is very high. However, I just do the same side stepping I would do if I was doing wave hands. If I'm stepping up and down, I would do the zigzag pattern I would do when I'm stepping forward. And I felt this is great. This is what we train for. Because I know that going up and down the mountain, I always have to remain steady. But Tai Chi gives me this. Tai Chi allows me to do the things that I can do. And then after 3 days, they're like, the hiking couple were like, oh, my knee hurt, and maybe we should hike some more. No, you shouldn't hike more because you're not improving, you're not buttressing, you're not supporting your joints, right? You're basically tearing them down. But if you did Chen Tai Chi, you're going to build all that structure around you so that you always sit back. And if you're going to fall, you just sit on the floor. And that has happened. Years ago, I slipped on ice. And because I practiced sitting back so much, I just landed on my bum. So I could not have imagined, right, 20 years ago when I started, I was in Ren Guanyi's class when I first came back to the US because I was living in Hong Kong then. And I hosted him when he visited in 1998, I believe, because that's when he made that video. And when he was leaving Chen Village after that competition, he stopped off in Hong Kong. And when I returned to the US, I went to his class. And after these number of years, I look back now and I say, oh my God, I'm old, I'm 60, but I feel great, right? And so I believe, and this is something that I've been kind of churning in my mind, it's not youthfulness that matters. It's the quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
Your quality of life will remain at a high level. And when I joined this company, I've been in the same company 20 years, my longest running job. I've seen over the years, 10, 15 years ago, people with back problems, operations, knee issues. And I just went to an offsite. Some people that I met when I first joined the company and was on a project, and what they look like now, some of them are double the size, but I look basically the same. How's that possible? It's because I do Chen Tai Chi. I really believe so. So embrace it. And one more thing is that people say, and this I heard over the years, you do Kung Fu, it's repetitive, after a while, it's boring. Chen Tai Chi is not, because it's layers, it's like an onion. Each part, you're going to have a journey of self-discovery. You find that extra something. You know what? I can relax this part a little bit more yin, a little bit more yang. That separation of yin and yang. Something as simple as that. The first thing you learn, the Tai Chi symbol, right, is so deep. And each day, we just go and peel away at it. We're building that three-dimensional model that is our true self. Thank you. Thank you.
And you know, Henry, thank you for that. That's a lot for folks to really consider. That's a powerful testimony about a lot of this. And Henry, I'm happy you talked a bit more about yin yang. You know, again, in talking about a lot of the metaphysical or philosophical underpinnings of this, you know, we're talking about transformation. You know, Tai Chi is not a static thing. It's about change. You know, you can't have one kind of energy without the other. So one thing flows into the other. So it really is about change. And as corny as it may sound, it's kind of adopting the similar principles that you just see in astronomy. And that getting yourself to the point where you can comfortably transform and change really is that is probably the key long-term secret to why Tai Chi is so phenomenally healthy and so youth-giving, because you actually are transforming. You're actually nurturing and churning and transforming your energy through these very specific physical practices, which again is proven to be science is proving how powerful that is, even though science doesn't fully understand the full bit yet. And so as you embark on this, you now have a tool to change, to constantly improve, to understand what it means to feel and balance and reconcile two different forces or two different types of energy in the body. And it is it's actually hard to put into words how amazing that is. So how do you do that? I mean, how do you get there? And this goes back to our last discussion a little bit. You know, Henry mentioned a few things. He says, you know, he was out with the hiking trip, and you know, he mentioned Ilu, you know what I mean, which means first road. It's a bread and butter choreographed series of movements. Takes about 10 minutes to do, give or take, and when you get to that point where you're learning these, where you're able to do these routines, you then have powerful training regimens. I mean, really powerful to not only help you get at all the stuff that science is showing, but ahead of the science, be able to transform and change and improve in ways that you never really thought you'd ever be able to do, because it's beyond just, I need to lose 20 pounds, or I've got to get my cholesterol down a few points, or I need to get my blood pressure down. All of those things Tai Chi addresses amazingly, but it's beyond that. And so part of that is the healing process that Tai Chi provides. So Alan, briefly, I don't know if you want to share some of your recent experiences with Tai Chi as girding you for challenges and helping you heal from those challenges, especially, and I will say, Alan, especially at your stage of life and your age right now. So just tell folks about it, please.
Well, Henry, I appreciate your saying about aging at 60. I'm 80. And I've been doing Tai Chi for 48 years. And I can honestly say Tai Chi saved my life. I've had a genetic issue. My family has a history of calcium buildup in the arteries. I had a blocked artery in my heart, and doctors kept saying, you know, you should get this done, you should get this done. And so I went to get it done. Unfortunately, what we didn't realize, there are also biological predispositions for a lot of different things. And so I went into what is called a stress reaction while my chest was being split open. And they were doing the surgery. A byproduct of that is I wound up with internal bleeding due to an ulcer I didn't have until that moment. And the doctor said it's very rare, but it does happen when the body goes into stress. Instead of staying in the hospital for 7 days, I was in the hospital for a month. And during that month, my diet was crushed ice, and blood transfusions. That's all I had for sustenance. 1 month. When I came out eventually, thank goodness, after follow-ups with the doctors, I had more than one doctor tell me that if I were not doing what I was doing, I'd be dead, by and large. So that one part, you know, having all that, I guess, health in the bank or whatever you want to call it, you know, worked for me. On the other side of it, the rehabilitation part, it was a struggle. I had neural issues as well as, you know, the standard balance issues and things like that. I didn't really have balance. It was more weakness that eventually, as I was able to eventually eat a real meal, things changed a lot there. But part of the rehab was they would send the doctors, the routine is to have a physical therapist come and visit me twice a week. And long story of this is when she had finished the limit of, you know, the number of visits she was supposed to have, et cetera, she said, I have to give you a test because we're probably going to have to, you know, we'll have to probably prolong the rehab if we don't meet these standards. She gave me the test. She gathered her data. She looked at her data. She looked at me and she said, you're doing better than people 20 years younger than you. She was just blown away. And I said, well, you know, there's so much to Tai Chi that we don't understand that has these benefits. And I benefited from it. I can tell you that personally. No research, just my own experience. It saved my life. It helped me rehab faster, recover faster. And here I am at 80 and plus years, and I'm able to stand up without lock my legs and push my palms both on the floor, bending over. I can, you know, I have a vitality a lot of people don't have half my age. I can't tell you how many times I've been at places where people start talking to me and say, well, when you reach my age, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And then when I tell them my age, they go, you're older than me. It's just one of those things. It's as Henry alluded to, it keeps you young. It is a form of anti-aging as well as everything else. So I just can't say enough about it. And I call it a blessing. I call it a gift. And I'm so glad I've started this and I'm continuing it. And alluding to another comment that Stephan had is, the practicing and the doing it. As I said, I've been doing it for 48 years. And I'm still learning that Henry's reference to the onion being peeled. It's still being peeled. I haven't reached the bottom of it yet. There are a lot of peels there left. So I find it very appealing. Sorry, bad joke. But, and there's so many things that, another thing I just wanted to mention because it's so important nowadays is I work, I have some students that come from the local VA center, and they come because they had suffered from PTSD. And it has helped them so much. And I can see, the attitude, the approach to life, the way they feel has changed a lot over time. We can go on and on and on about this. I'm sorry.
Well, Alan, no, I mean, it's always thrilling and inspirational hearing stuff like this. It really is. I mean, I know we only have about 6-7 minutes left, pretty much, but you hear Alan's testimony, you guys, and he's not alone. And we want to get this message out, and we want to make sure that it's not just for older people. That's another misconception. In fact, the younger you get into this, all the better for you.
I was young when I started.
Yeah, there you go. Damn right. And so again, why is Tai Chi so damn good for you? You know what I mean? You hear all this, you guys, modern Western science, traditional science, traditional Chinese science, testimonials, how it seems to fulfill all the same things or much the same things that a lot of modern fitness techniques use. It's all here for you. It really, really is. So you guys, we have a few minutes left, and we can go a little bit longer if need be. But are there any questions or anything any of you would like to share about this? Any questions at all? Anything you're dealing with that you're battling that we can maybe address, or just anything at all?
I could say something.
Please.
I'm 76, so I had a bad reaction to the COVID vaccine. And actually had a physical a few months before, and it told me how healthy I am. And of course, I mean, I had family heart issues, but they never exercised. They smoke 3 packs a day. I don't do any of that. So what happened is after the second shot, a couple of months later, I woke up in the middle of the night and I felt like I had a car on my chest. So, I went back to sleep because I'm saying I'm healthy. And I woke up again and I Googled symptoms. I figured, all right, I better go to the hospital. Long story short, I went into the hospital. They put me on a slab. I walked in. They put me on a slab and they go, you're having a heart attack. I thought I was dreaming. So they told me I had a widowmaker and I was 95% blocked. So what happened was, I guess I had a little plaque because I wasn't on statin. So the COVID shot loosened it and it was revolving in my body, sticky, sticky, sticky. But like Alan, they were amazed that I didn't even feel like I had a heart attack. The worst thing was the drugs, the beta blockers, whatever. But they say what kept me alive is that my heart was so used to, I've been doing Kempo and Shotokan since I was 15, and other sports, is that my heart was just so used to stress, physical stress. and I had a slow heartbeat that even though there was a cut in the major artery of blood flow to the heart muscle, my other arteries were drawing it in, and it was strong enough that I survived, and I survived in a good way. When I go for a physical now and they do a cardiogram or whatever, they tell me, if you weren't my patient, there's no trace of a heart attack. And the other thing is, I mean, my vitals and my heart function is right where it was before. And, I'm trying to convince the doctors that it's because of practice. And because I train with Gary Guillaume with, Kempo and Jiu-Jitsu, Gary trained with Master Ren, I'm sorry. And he started teaching us Tai Chi and I like doing the Tai Chi better than I like doing the Kempo and whatever, but besides the physical, studying the martial arts for 50, 60 years, and I used to compete a lot. I was like national champion 2 years or whatever. It was just bang, bang, bang. And yeah, we have 600 techniques. But when I started learning Tai Chi, it was the reverse. I learned the foundation of what I studied for all 50 years. And it just makes so much more sense to me. And I say to everybody, Tai Chi is the foundation for every martial art. And then you understand how to strike, the Hsiang. Like if somebody puts you in a headlock or an arm bar, you don't, like you're saying, you don't yang the yang, you yin the yang. You relax. And my blood pressure, I was always concerned about blood pressure. That's hereditary. But doing Tai Chi and going to an acupuncturist, it's amazing. If I don't feel well and I get a setback, say before a physical, yeah, my blood pressure is high a little. If I do my Tai Chi and I see my acupuncturist, it's like 112/72 without medication. So I'm just saying, there's a lot of naysayers in the medical community. They say things to me like, you're 76, when are you going to stop doing that stuff? And I say, yeah, if I stop doing it, I won't be able to do it because I'll probably be dead. So the thing is, you really got to educate Western medicine into the Chinese medicine and the Tai Chi. But again, like Alan said, it saved my life. It really did.
Yeah, Roy, I appreciate that a lot, especially what you said about blood pressure and with all of your experience in other martial arts, how Tai Chi just seems to encompass it all and be the core element of it. Yeah, you guys, it's interesting, seeing how the medical evidence or the medical research is starting to catch up and recognize these things. So some of those studies that have come out recently, and again, Harvard was sort of ahead of the curve here, was where they'll talk about Tai Chi as being effective for lowering blood pressure. And we have, in the Tai Chi community, there's tons of this evidence, if you will. And I'm talking about people who practice it regularly, not just folks who, do it for a month or so for a study. So imagine, and you heard what Roy just said. I mean, incredible. Thank you for that, Roy. Thank you for sharing that. It's good. People need to hear these stories. Does anybody else have anything else to share, or they have a question?
One thing, I don't mean to go on, but
go ahead, Roy.
You reminded me of something like in Tracy Kempo, we have 660 techniques through 6 black belt. And there's more because there's A, B, C, and D. So when you do the short form, 19, and then a 19, and then you do 38, okay? Gary and I, you just tear apart one Tai Chi move. It makes up like 8 of the Kempo techniques. It's the foundation of the whole system. It's amazing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I wish I had the Tai Chi foundation before I did the other arts, because I would have understood what I was doing.
Absolutely. And that speaks to, for those of you who are interested in Tai Chi, for the martial art aspect of it, it is a martial art. It's not, it was never designed as a form of meditation or just for health. It happens to be a high quality martial art with the conception of its design was to be able to design warriors in a more healthful manner. That's the thing, you guys, and maybe that's a good way to conclude everything. Tai Chi is a practice that was developed in reaction to what soldiers were having to deal with in militias and all of that in China at that time. There are writings that still survive from the founder, the person who is credited as creating Tai Chi, actually questioning the value of certain types of basic military training. And he questioned it in the same way that a lot of combat veterans will question why they go through certain types of training, and then for what? To still get shot up a certain way, to still have to, where they can barely deal with certain things in the battlefield, and of course that leads to whole other issues, many other issues, and Tai Chi directly addresses that. Which actually, you guys, brings me to talk about and to remind you guys about our talk next week. And again, we can stay on longer if anybody else has questions or something to share, but our talk next week, and it'll be the last one in celebration of AAPI month, we're gonna have a featured speaker, Dr. Han Lee, who is going to talk about the place and importance and the long time existence of these practices, Tai Chi, Qigong, and these things here in the United States, and how it's been part of the American landscape, and it's been a huge cultural contribution from that community for a long time. And Han Lee was a combat veteran in the Vietnam War, and among many other things that he's been through, and the one thing that really kept it all right for him was his practice of these disciplines. To the point now, he's in his 70s. He now has a full-time acupuncture neurology practice. He's written an amazing book about his life, which I think many of you got the link for. But it's Tai Chi and Qigong, Qigong meaning those internal health practices that's not martial art, that really mean everything to him. So there's a lot happening, you guys, and we're happy you all were here tonight, and you need to come next week. Before we close out, are there any other questions or anything else people want to add?
I just want to commend Roy and Alan. I know that in 20 years, I'm going to be fine after this session. Thank you.
There you go. When you told me you were 60 years old, I almost fell off my chair. And now I'm 80. It's like, wow.
There's hope.
There is hope indeed. Well, guys, thank you so much. Roy, thank you for that. Henry, thanks so much for participating. Hopefully we'll see Henry in the next call. Our next thing, our next discussion, presentation really next week. And we thank you guys. And if you have any other questions about Tai Chi and health, ask us, send an email into info@chiforce.com, and one of us will get back to you, and we'll really be able to help you with this. And for those of you who are not members of Chi Force, take a look at it. It's all good stuff on there. And even if you're practicing Tai Chi with a teacher, a lot of the material in Chi Force could really help you too. And for us at Chi Force, we just want to make it clear that, we're doing this simply out of passion. We're not doing this as some big, giant, production. For us, it's really passion. We want to get the word out. We want more people to do this, and we want people to value and hold Tai Chi up as the discipline it deserves to be, which is why we have these seminars, these workshops at an absolute beautiful place, Beckoning Path in upstate New York. Well, not really that far upstate New York, in Westchester County, New York, where you have an opportunity, unlike any place else in the world, to have a weekend retreat, if you will, doing Tai Chi in an incredible environment.